MCC25 was a wild MCC that went all over the place, and nowhere was that more evident than, who else? Our old friend BattleBox. We saw absolute dominations, surprise wins, and of course, getting wooled.
Yeah, let's go!
Today, we're gonna look at the top 4 teams and see what their strategies were and how they stacked up against each other. If you've been watching our BattleBox videos for a while, you know how the Cyan Coyotes are always some of the best BattleBox teams, and this MCC was no different. This map is very unique in that it is the biggest BattleBox map we have seen in the event so far, with multiple floors and dangerous lava holes. Wool is in a very hard to reach place, being on the high ground and the map being much larger than normal. Couple that with a tight time limit of only 1 minute and you have a map where the wool is forced to be a big component of your team's strategy, whether you like it or not. With such a unique new map, Cyan's strategy was constantly changing and evolving throughout the game, but their general strategy was for H-Bomb and Tubbo to get up to the left stairs section to keep an eye on mid, with Zeus going right to flank the opponents, and Kara staying back to bow. They made an effort to keep a constant eye on mid to stop other teams from rushing wool, and were one of the only teams to never lose to a wool rush. And with Zeus flanking pulling the attention from the opponents, it allowed Cyan to pelt the other teams with arrows. So when Zeus was down, all Tubbo and H-Bomb then needed to do was clean it all up, and cleaning up they did, with H-Bomb and Tubbo both getting 8 kills, but let it also be noted how much damage both Zeus and Kara did. In terms of kit item usage on this team, they were fine. Tubbo made good use of his bow and Kara made sure to use her arrows, but H's pot effectiveness was inconsistent and Zeus mostly made use of his sword instead of his axe. The biggest downside of this team, however, was that it relied on PvP. Keeping an eye on middle meant they had to constantly split their focus, so when they played against better PvP teams, they had a hard time getting the upper hand, as you will see later on. Despite this, they still won 6 out of 9 games, with a total of 22 kills. Both H-Bomb and Tubbo placed top 5 individually.
Tubbo! We tied for 4th!
Fruit berries may have been on purple this event, but purpled was the closest thing to fruit berries we had this BattleBox, as he kept up the tradition of making sure people got wooled. Aqua immediately moves as a block towards the right upper stairs section. Then from that point, they stay there as a unit, bowing at opponents while constantly keeping an eye on mid. The constant pressure they put on wool lures out opponents, which leads them open to arrows or purpled sword. If the enemy team doesn't get lured out, or Aqua feels they can't win by killing, they rush wool, guaranteeing a win. The fact they were down with wooling, alongside the enemy team having difficulty to stop the rush, meant they got the most wins out of any team, getting 7 out of 9 wins. Just like any wool strategy, items didn't have that much of an effect. Purple's health pots did keep his team alive multiple times, and Sniff used her punch bow well, but Ranboo didn't get to use his knockback axe much, and the round would already be over before Jack could use any of his extra arrows. One of the obvious downsides of this strategy was that they didn't get the coins for the kills, which is why they ultimately got 2nd overall despite having the most round wins. But an actual flaw of their strategy was how passive they were. The spot they stood in to bow was quite great, but they still stood still in one spot for most of the time, which meant that teams that were more willing to be agile got the upper hand over them. They still did great in the end, getting a solid total of 15 kills, with Purple even placing top 5 individually with 6 kills.
Nice, Purple.
Let's go, Purple.
Similarly to MCC22 Aqua, this team had a shift in strategies partway through BattleBox. In the beginning, all of the team mainly stayed back and bowed for a good chunk of the round. However, this strategy left them very vulnerable to getting wooled, as they were too far back to effectively gain control of the center or prevent a wool rush. So after being beaten twice by center pushes, they switched over to a different strategy. In the second strategy, the team played more aggressively, with Joel immediately pushing left, CPK and JoJo pushing right, and Scar either using his arrows to stay back and bow, or pushing right with the team. This strategy worked far more effectively, as their new positioning allowed them to much better defend the wool, and even push center themselves, while still letting them rain arrows into the enemies if they wished. And even with their new option to go for the wool, Green usually didn't, preferring to play for kills first, only wooling if forced to by the other team or the timer. Speaking of kills, this team was able to get quite a hefty amount. JoJo was their heavyweight fighter in terms of melee PvP, getting an impressive 13 kills, but she also used her healing pots to great effect. Joel and CPK were more flex players, switching up what they were doing to whatever the team needed, and they both got a decent number of kills themselves. Their kit items weren't as impactful though, and they both could have probably done just as well without needing the punch bow and knockback axe respectively. Finally, while Scar didn't actually get any kills, he made good use of his copious amounts of extra arrows, bowing the enemy and trimming down their health. Green's main weakness was quite clearly getting wooled. All of their losses were due to a wool rush, in the sense no team ever got the full 4 kills against Green. In the end, this team only won 5 out of 9 rounds, but still managed to place in a respectable 3rd place due to the amount of kills they got and the overall low scoring quality of this MCC's battle box.
Yeah, I thought
JoJo.
so.
Let's go.
Nice.
JoJo.
This MCC, the Red Rabbits were all bark and all bite. Their backline was made up of Gumi and Foolish, who were providing bow support from the back and from the flanks, while Ponk served as a flex player, pivoting between both sides of the map and helping out wherever he was needed. But the MVP was undoubtedly Sapnap, who would run up the stairs and bow from the top platforms. Then, when the time was right, he would run into mid to contest the wool or jump down and ambush an unsuspecting enemy player. The majority of their round wins were due to the heroics and PvP skills of their star player, but there were a couple of times when he died early and his teammates clutched up, winning the round. This team's kit item usage was pretty mediocre overall, but Sapnap took full advantage of his health potions, and they were crucial to him getting as many kills as he did. Much like the Green Geckos, this team was mainly focused on PvP, so it should come as no surprise that the majority of their losses came from clutch wool rushes. Still, their strong performance landed them in 1st place, winning 6 out of 9 rounds and bringing Sapnap to 1st individual.
He's number 1 though.
Ooh, number 1 victory royale.
Before we see how these teams stacked up against each other, be sure to wool rush over to the subscribe button and let us know in the comments about what we should cover next. With that out of the way, let's see how these teams matched up against each other. Being the first round, the teams hesitate to explore the new map. When Aqua tries to rotate to the right, they are met with arrows from Red, so they have to rotate to the left. Purple moves up on the stairs to get a better spot while the rest stays down. So when Sapnap rushes in, everyone on Aqua besides Purple tries to kill Sapnap and get obliterated by Red in the process. Purple, recognizing the situation he is in, goes for the wool, and due to the inexperience of Red on the map, Purple is able to finish wooling with relative ease. CPK tries to get the TNT on the right side, but when he sees Purple, he backs down to spawn, in which the rest of Green also falls back. With the entirety of Aqua on the upper stairs section and the entirety of Green in their spawn, the teams get locked into a bow battle. To break the stalemate, Green moves around the map to get better bowing positions, but Aqua is having none of that. With Green's extremely conservative position, Aqua is able to finish the wool without getting any kills, deciding it was better to get a safe win rather than a potential loss.
Nice.
As is always with the BattleBox universe, everything revolves around Sapnap. Tubbo rushes over to the stairs section and is able to crit chain an unsuspecting Foolish by surprise, quickly killing him. But while Cyan is busy killing Foolish, Red pelts Cyan with arrows and Sapnap rushes over to Cyan, which gets noticed by Zeus. Sap then gets the jump on H-Bomb and Kara, but Zeus then tries to clean Sapnap, but he has to back down because Ponk also shows up. Sapnap and Ponk then win their respective 1v1s against Tubbo and Zeus to win the round.
Holy shit, you guys are nice with it.
As the bell rings, all of Green rush to the right, but when they see H-Bomb, they all try to fall back. When they then see the rest of Cyan has surrounded them, they are in a bit of a limbo walking back and forth. This allows H-Bomb to bow Scar down, Zeus to clean up CPK, and Tubbo to clean up Joel. But JoJo being JoJo, she systematically beats all 3 of them one by one. Kara, recognizing what is happening, begins wooling by herself, and while JoJo tries her hardest from a poor position, her arrows are too little and the distance is too far to stop the inevitable.
I'm just gonna win.
No, that's better. That was better. That was a smarter way. Well done.
When the round starts, most of Green meets Sapnap immediately, and Scar tries to go after Sapnap, but Sapnap runs over to the other side and Scar gets bowed down. The rest of Red stays in their spawn to bow, so Joel, seeing Sapnap alone, rushes in and surprisingly wins the 1v1 against Sapnap before going down 2. JoJo and CPK then put pressure on mid, which forces Red to contest, but Foolish, not knowing how to get up to middle, leaves Ponk and Gumi by themselves to contest. JoJo and CPK are able to withstand this contest, and they win the round with relative ease.
Where's he going?
Nice job. Nice job.
Aqua immediately rushes to the right stairs section, but since Tubbo and H rush to the opposite stairs section, Aqua hesitates to go for the wall. With Cyan being spread out on the map, they pelt Aqua with arrows. Zeus then tries to TNT rush Aqua, while Kara rushes middle. This lures all of them out, and with all of their health so low due to the constant bow spam, one by one, they get killed by Tubbo. A beautiful nace for the end of the video.
Jack's on 4.
Just protect that. Put one in. Good job. Good job. Good job.
Oh my god!